Good evening, everybody. Hello. I can't believe we have a lot of people here for Alaska night. I mean, we're still in March, but spring is coming and summer is coming, so that's good. My name is Susie Berry. I'm the owner of Travel House. I have my team here with me tonight. I have my manager, Lisa, and we have three travel consultants. I have Karen, Wendy, and Preet. So please, if you have any questions tonight about Alaska booking, about Princess Cruise Lines, they're the experts to ask them. And of course, I'm going to introduce Judy. She's the Business Development Manager with Princess Cruise Line. I just found out today that Judy's been with Princess for 35 years. And you see what she's wearing? So every time we have a Princess Alaska cruise night, that's what she wears, because she's going to tell you all about it. So please welcome Judy, and hopefully you get a lot of information tonight.
Thank you, Susie. Yes, Susie is right. I wear this because when I do these, I have a great deal of fun, and I decided it was best to be casual while I was having fun. So that's why we do this. So tonight we're going to do two things. First, we're going to take a look at a short video. It gives you a great feeling for what our Alaska experience is about. I'll let it speak for itself. When that completes, I'll bring up a PowerPoint and we'll be more specific about details of these programs in Alaska. So that's where we're going. It takes 45 minutes or so to go through this. I'm happy to stay and answer questions when we're completed. So if you have questions, keep track of them and we'll address when I finish. And all the agents and I will be here afterward to talk with you one-on-one as well. So I hope you enjoy. So let's start with this great video. Okay, so here we are. Yes, I've been to Alaska many times, in fact. But I remember the first time I went most vividly. It was definitely on top of my bucket list, without a doubt. And I was very enthusiastic about it. The problem was I didn't know much. I didn't know how far things were, what not to miss, everything. But it was super important to me. And so off I went. Today, when I do programs like this, I talk to folks, and this is what I hear mostly. You know, Alaska's always been on top of my list of something to do. And I'm going to do it once, and I want to do it right. And so they come to get the information. So I assume you don't know what I didn't know, and what I share with you tonight is what I didn't know and wish that I had known. So tonight we're going to take a look at what the great land of Alaska is about, and importantly, why Princess is considered the leader in Alaska. Most important of all is, what is the best itinerary to meet your needs? So that's our mission plan. So we'll take a look at Alaska. You may recall it has that nickname, Seward's Folly. And that's because it was purchased by William Seward back in Lincoln's era. It wasn't expensive, a few cents an acre, but it was a national expenditure, and in those days, folks had opinions about stuff like that. In fact, it wasn't all good opinion. The New York newspaper of the time was quoted as saying, "Alaska has so much of nothing in it, we should have paid nothing for it." Oh. Of course, fast forward, we know the folly of that. It's quite priceless in the national parks that we have there, like Glacier Bay, Denali. The wildlife is everywhere and quite amazing. And the native culture is alive and well in Alaska. So in so many ways, it is pretty much our last frontier, and as I said, pretty priceless. It's also a place where you can get into some pretty exciting adventures, whatever they may be in terms of your description of adventure. Flight seems beautiful everywhere. There's all type of paddling, whatever it may be. Fishing, of course. In fact, if you look at the fishing picture, you'll realize you know her, because that's me. That's me! I caught that fish on the Gocana River in the Copper River Basin. It's a king salmon. It was quite a fight. I had a blast. And so if you follow your dream to what makes you excited, you'll have your adventures in Alaska as well. I can also tell you this about Alaska, it's odd. There are odd things there. Every time I go there, some other quirky little thing happens. This was just another one of them. So, the New York paper said what it said, but I happen to agree with the man who said this, which is, "To lovers of wilderness, Alaska is one of the most wonderful countries in the world." This is John Muir. He's sometimes considered the unofficial father of our national park system. And in fact, he was pretty passionate about Glacier Bay and Alaska in general, so we have a lot to thank him for. In fact, you cannot have a conversation about Alaska without talking about national parks, because more than 50% of our parkland is in the state of Alaska. And I'm happy to say that the Princess Lodges that we operate, the Wilderness Lodges, are located near these national parks to give you access to them. So that's what it's all about. So Alaska, first thing if you're going to head up there and travel around that you need to know is this. It's big, very big, as in the state of Texas would fit twice. If that's not enough, it's not well populated, there aren't many roads or railroads, so getting around is not that simple. And I promise you this, everything you want to see in Alaska is far apart. What to do with that bunch of information? So the solution to that challenge, because it is one, is what we call a cruise tour. A cruise tour is really the only way to see all of Alaska. It combines cruise, rail, and lodge, and also when you're in the interior, along with rail, we move around by motor coach, but every itinerary does include a rail leg. So it's all those three elements. It is the best way to see it all, and there are the elements again. Rail, ship, lodges. So Princess has been being voted best cruise line in Alaska by, other than me, industry experts for, I think it's about 11 years. That's an awesome statement. If I were you, I'd want to know why. The answer is multi-layers, I suppose I'd say. So, number one, something I've already mentioned. These two national parks are included in every single one of our itineraries. When you do get the chance to crack open that brochure, you'll notice there are a lot of choices. Hopefully what we share tonight is going to make those choices a little clearer and easier for you. But one thing to know is every single one of those itineraries will include both of those national parks because we incorporate them into all of our cruise tours. And then the next level is our lodges. So this is the Denali Lodge with the red roof and McKinley with the green. They are both located around Denali National Park area. They are the two largest lodges in our four-lodge Wilderness Lodge grouping. And every single cruise tour stays in Denali Lodge because that gives you access to Denali National Park, and as we've just stated, that's included in your visit to Alaska. So you will always get into Denali. So these are the two big guys, and then we have two that I call the boutique lodges. Because where the first two I showed you are hundreds of rooms, these two are only about 100 rooms each. So they're very small, intimate lodges, and these two lodges give you access to yet two other national parks. This one being the Kenai Fjords National Park access, this one Wrangell St. Elias National Park access. So that is how those two lodges fold in. And then the last element is we actually operate our own rail transfer from Denali or McKinley Lodge down to the ship, or vice versa. If you're getting off the ship and heading up into the lodges, we go the other way. So we have our own rail transfer. So as I mentioned, every cruise tour has its own, or has a day of spending the day on the rail. It may be this particular rail where you're traveling from our ship to the lodge, or another segment of the tour may feature rail, but one way or the other you'll have a rail experience. That we run our own transfer from our ship to our lodges is unique. A lot of what we do in Alaska is unique. What it ultimately means as all these pieces come together is when you go to Alaska, you're with us from the start to the finish. So it's a seamless princess experience. We don't pass you off to other suppliers along the way, so it's all ours. So when you get on to the rail experience, it feels and looks like this. There's an open air viewing platform on the back. The rail cars have these big windows so that you can see all the beautiful scenery from point A to point B. It's about the opportunity to ride the rail and of course see the sights. So this will give us a good look at the big picture of what is a cruise tour. So all of our cruise tours feature a cruise section, and that cruise section is always the same. So the ship sails between Vancouver and Whittier. It's 7 days. You can board in Vancouver, travel northbound, stopping in these ports of call, we'll talk about them, to two glacier areas and disembark in Whittier and then do your land portion. Or you can come from Pennsylvania and fly into either Fairbanks or Anchorage, because those are the two air cities in Alaska. Do your land portion first, then board the ship in Whittier and travel southbound down to Vancouver. You will again stop in Skagway, Juneau, Ketchikan, and visit Glacier Bay for sure, and one of these other two glacier areas. So one element is constant, and that is the cruise, and the rest of the story is the land. So when you put it all together, the most minimum itinerary length for a cruise tour would be 10 days, and that would be something I would not recommend. Because Alaska's so big, it really is difficult to not feel like you're running from hither to yon. Just to give you a sense of how big Alaska is, when you take the rail from Denali to Whittier, does anybody want to guess how long that takes? 9 hours. Don't underestimate this place. It's bigger than both of us. So it's a pretty big place. And time, getting around is quite a challenge. So then I say to you, 10-day itinerary I wouldn't recommend. Then you may say to me, well, what do you think is ideal? My answer to that would be 14 days or more. If you've got 14 days to throw at this, that's ideal. And if you say to me, guess what, I'm still working, I don't have 14 days. Don't worry, because there are certain itineraries that can still allow you to maximize your experience, and part of being able to do that is that rail that I was just showing you. It helps to allow us to make itineraries that are shorter and still very meaningful to you. So we will vet what you need with the amount of time that you need. But ultimately you always have the 7-day leg, and the balance of time is spent here. So what we'll do is take a look at the lodges, where they're located and what is they're all about. And also know not only these lodge visits are in here, but every tour is either going to visit Fairbanks or Anchorage, because that's an air city. So that's the reason for those cities being in there. To approach this from the position of, well, do I want to include Anchorage or Fairbanks? Don't ask yourself that question. The question you'll want to ask is, what do I want to do totally in Alaska? And then choose an itinerary that hits all the other things you want to do, and which air city you'll use will fall in. Generally, not 100%, but generally the longer time, 14 days and more, will use Fairbanks for airlift, and the shorter ones will use Anchorage. So that's how we kind of divvy it out. So we'll take a look at these two lodges. First, we have Denali. There's the Denali Lodge and the McKinley Lodge. And here's some pictures of the area. This is some of the buildings. It's on the Nenana River. They're all on a river, which then offers us whatever that river has to offer, fishing, rafting, whatever is good in that area. This is the main check-in building. You just saw the other side of that building, a room, another building on the property. This is actually a 14-acre campus, so it's huge, comprised of multiple outbuildings, the main building, restaurants, shops, pathways that hook everything together. It's right across the street from Denali National Park, so it's an excellent location. If you walked into this building right here, you'd be here. If you kept going and went down the steps, you'd be here. And this is our little cozy spot in front of the fireplace, which poses the question, do we use that fireplace in the summer? We're in Alaska from about the end of May to about the middle of September, so that's our period. If I gave you the short answer of what the weather is in Alaska during that period, I'd say the temps are in the average in the 70s, but it gets deeper, because the temperatures in Alaska during that period can actually fluctuate from the 50s to the 90s, which is pretty vast. It gets more interesting. It can do that in one day, and I've been there many a day when the captain will wake you up with, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, it's 58 degrees, we're expecting highs near 80. What exactly do you wear? And the answer to that question is layers, because when you leave the ship in the morning, you're going to need some layers, and I promise you by 1 o'clock you're going to be carrying these layers around. So this is the first tip. I